Hey everyone, today we're going to be going over the configuration of the flow exception rules framework. This framework is part of the satellite solution. So wherever you're going to be doing this, it has to have the satellite solution installed. That's the prerequisite, as well as at least one user, which in my case, I'm logged in as Ashley Shelton, which in the previous steps, we assigned the flow session exception admin role. It's a security role that comes with the satellite solution. If you missed that part, go check out that video or read back on the documentation on how to set that satellite solution up. And yeah, let's get going. So it's important to note that the person, if, for example, in my case, I'm not the admin, right? I'm just the Ashley Shelton, a user in the Power Platform here. And there's technically three roles or two roles that you would need. It is the flow session exception admin. That is the security role that comes with the satellite solution. But also you will need the user will need basic user license or basic user role and the environment maker role. This will allow them to write data to the Dataverse tables, but they do not need to have the Power Apps license because we're going to be editing the data within the table itself. I'm already in the prod satellite environment where the satellite solution's installed. And to edit a record, I'm just going to edit when read into the table. There's no other experience at this time to edit records. So to do that, we're just going to edit one in the tables. So in the data tab here, we're just going to click tables. And then first I'm going to click all. And then I'm just going to search up here for exception, EXCE. If you do not see these tables, that means you do not have the flow session exception admin role. Okay, so first we're going to do a flow session exception rule configuration. So I'm just going to click the three dots here. I'm going to go over edit in a new tab. Okay, so to add a new record, you just click down here and just start typing away. The one we're going to test for here is this one here though, and you can edit these rules and you can create new ones. And even though it's in the managed solution, you can still do it. Up here, don't be deterred by this message. This just means we can't create new columns or edit the tables itself. We can still add data, edit data, as long as you have the basic user role, environment maker role, and the flow session exception admin role, of course. So basically, I'll just go over the different columns here. So we have the rule name. This is environment-based ruling. Okay, so this will only occur in this environment. So for example, session not active is going to be my rule name. It doesn't matter what you want the rule name to be. It's just something that is meaningful to you. The consecutive exception count. This is how many times this rule has to trigger from a failed flow session for these triggers over here to happen, these flags. We'll get to these flags in a second. So the exception code, this is the code that you'll see in a failed flow and a Cloudflow runs, and it's running a Power Automate desktop, let's say. I'll showcase that when we trigger this off. Turning off the Cloudflow. So again, so if this triggers off 3 consecutive times, the flow will turn off. And that's if this is selected to yes. And if this is selected to yes, an alert will also be sent. Who will the alert be sent to? It is whoever's in the environment variable in the automation satellite solution. So it's based on per environment. It could be a distribution list. It could be an email. In my case, it's just a single email address, and I'll show that after. And then requires of acknowledgement, same thing. It's the same thing as an alert. It's just it's a button that says that you acknowledge that it's failed. Other than that, it doesn't do anything else. So that is the fields in here, and we can edit these ones as is, or we can create new ones. But yeah, let's test it out. So we're gonna try to get this one to trigger off here. So let's go and find a flow that we can test this on. So I found a Cloudflow here to test this on. So it's set to unattended. And this machine here, I'll showcase this. I'm going to put it to attended. So this machine that I'm logged in, this machine that's configured here is actually a unattended machine. So there's nobody logged in right now to this machine. So this should fail, and that should trigger off that error that we created before. That's the code that happens when this happens. And I'll trigger it off a couple of times, 3 times, and then we'll see all 3 of those triggers that get off. I should get an alert, as well as the Cloudflow, this flow should be turned off. So let's test that out. I'm going to hit save. I'll just hit test manually. I'll do this 3 times. Then we'll check back the results. So this is one. I won't bore you with the other 2. I'll pause it and come back. This is the 3rd time. Trigger it off. Refresh, refresh. Okay, so, and this is the 3rd run, but I did mess up a little bit, but I'll showcase, don't make the same mistake I did. So basically, when this, we can see here when this flow, desktop flow fails, the details of the code does say this, right? And this is what I put in as my rule, but that's wrong actually, because there's error and then details. So actually in the error, we want to put error. If we go down, the code for the error is no candidate machine. So this is what I changed my error to, my rule configuration, and everything works correctly. So I'll showcase that. So if I, this ran 3 times. Now if I go back, and now we can see that the flow is turned off, as well as I got an email as well. Here's the email that you get when it fails the 3 times. If it was an acknowledgement, there'd be a button here to click if you acknowledge the error. Next, we're going to go over the dashboard. Now, there's 2 separate ones. There's one that's included with the satellite solution as a standalone. And then there's also the one that if you open up the main dashboard that's included with just like the overall automation kit, then the dashboard there will have the tabs that are included in this separate dashboard. I'm going to open up the separate dashboard for today, but it's also included in the main dashboard as well. Open up the flow exception dashboard. When you open this up for the first time, it's going to ask you the environment URL. This is the environment URL where we installed the flow exceptions rules framework. And this URL can be found in the Power Platform Admin Center. Please make sure that the format is in the same format you see here, or when you highlight over this little eye icon, it'll tell you the format. I'm going to hit load. So when it's done loading, you can see something like this. So the flow exceptions tab here is the tab that will allow you to filter by date, exception rule, cloud flow name, desktop flow name, and host name or the machine. And then a summary of the information shown. So the status overall right here, this is the overall count and percentage of failed versus successful flows for the environment. Total exceptions by rule, this will display the number of flow runs categorized by each exception rule. Failure rate by type, that's this one here. So failure rate by type displays the total number of errors for that environment across all flows, the number of successful runs, and the percentage of frequency for each error compared to all other errors. And then exceptions by month. This displays the number of exceptions triggered for each rule according to the flow exception framework, categorized by each month. The flow exception details list here. This is displays the detailed information for the flow exceptions. And then in the next tab, the flow exceptions tree tab, this is going to allow us to filter by date, exception rule, cloud flow name, desktop flow name, and again, the host name. But also it's going to allow us to drill down into the specific flows organized into the following categories. So we have, click on the number of exceptions, which in this case, we only have 1. And then this is the rule name. And as we click this, we can see this populate up here. And then this is going to be the cloud flow name. Again, it's going to show up there, the error code. And if there's multiple here, like multiple error codes, you're going to see this here. This is why this is very powerful. And then we're going to see everything up until the actual host name. In case this runs on different machines, you'll be able to see that. And then the flow exception detail down here, again, provides detailed information on the flow exceptions. And this includes the full setup guide on the flow exceptions rules framework. Please leave feedback and comments and questions. And I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.